Dean Rusk disagrees with you, and he was the Secretary of State at the time, but that's fine.
The communist nations have exploited the turmoil of a time of transition in an effort to extend communist control into other areas of the world.
Thoughts on Dean Rusk and America's involvement in Vietnam? I know next to nothing about that.
Exactly. Deeper look. CEFC, the Chinese energy firm at the center of the Biden impeachment inquiry. Who exactly were they? Hunter Biden's extensive financial dealings with the now defunct Chinese energy conglomerate CEFC China Energy, CEFC, have become one of the central focuses on the House Republicans' impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. According to House investigators, one area of concern is the bank transfers he received from his relatives that ostensibly originated with that company. Hunter Biden's work with the company began while his father was still vice president, and the IRS whistleblowers indicated that payments to the Biden family in 2017 may have been for services rendered earlier in 2016, Joe Biden's last year in office during the Obama administration. He just couldn't help himself. He couldn't wait until his term was over as vice president. He's just too greedy and selfish for that kind of thing. The House Oversight Committee this year also traced funds from the energy company directly into Joe Biden's bank accounts. Americans are well acquainted with Burisma, the Ukrainian energy firm that was at the center of President Trump's first impeachment and the 2020 election. But CEFC remains more obscure. What exactly was CEFC China Energy? CEFC was a Chinese firm that emerged from relative obscurity to become one of the largest private energy companies in China, whose founder had close connections with the Chinese Communist Party and which worked to advance the interests of the Chinese government across the globe, primarily through energy deals. Hunter Biden actively sought to invite CEFC, so closely intertwined with the Chinese government, into the U.S. energy market and attempted to secure deals across the globe on their behalf, from the Middle East to Eastern Europe. In all, Hunter Biden would secure millions from the company. CEFC's success and influence would end abruptly. The company would collapse in 2018 after the arrest of one of its top officials in the United States and the disappearance of its founder and chairman Xi Jinping in China under mysterious circumstances. So far, the Chinese government has remained silent on his whereabouts. I would presume he's dead. The company's origins. Chairman Xi Jinping, the enigmatic former Chinese businessman, started CEFC as a private collective enterprise with energy and financial services at its core business in 2002. CEFC grew to two group companies, 13 Level 1 subsidiaries, an A-share listed company, and acquired shares of several foreign public companies, overseeing a workforce exceeding 30,000 people. CEFC remained under the public's radar for most of its history until 2015, when Chairman Yi began buying assets in the Czech Republic in the heart of Europe. According to CNN, the buying spree included the country's oldest football club, Slavia Praha, a brewery, a share of the travel service, airline group, a publishing house, a neo-Renaissance building, a stake in the investment bank J&T Finance Group, and a building in the Czech capital Prague, intended for use as the company's European headquarters. In 2015, Czech President Miloš Zeman appointed Yi and his special economic advisor. In 2018, the Holocaust-denying New York Slimes described their relationship as cementing China's newfound influence on politics and business in Mr. Zeman's Czech Republic and signaled its broader ambitions in Europe. After CEFC's investments across the Czech Republic, President Zeman took several policy positions favorable to the Chinese government, breaking with the previous anti-communist China positions on his predecessor in office. Zeman publicly espoused support for China's claim to Taiwan and rejected support for the Dalai Lama, the Tibetan religious leader labeled as subversive by the Chinese Communist Party. Both Zeman and the Chinese saw benefits to the newfound relationship. After the global financial crisis, Xi's China was looking for inroads into Europe, seeking financial and geopolitical advantages over the West. China eventually developed the 16+1 Forum, dedicated to expand cooperation with the Central and Eastern European countries. This push formed part of China's Belt and Road Initiative, which is intended to expand the country's economic power and influence across the globe through trade and infrastructure projects. Zeman was the first Czech president to visit the communist country in almost a decade. When he traveled there in 2014, saw an opportunity for foreign investment and to make his country more independent from the political and economic whims of the United States. Before Chinese President Xi Jinping visited the Czech Republic in 2016, Zeman told Chinese media that it was an opportunity to restart the relationship, adding that previous Czech government was very submissive to the United States. Xi Jinping and the CEFC's goals appear to align with the Chinese government's overall national strategy on energy and economic connectivity with Europe. The strategy had been significant success up until recent years, when European countries began to diverge from China amid allegations of human rights abuses and China's unofficial support for Russia's invasion of Ukraine. While China expanded its reach in Europe, Yi's CEFC was at the center of the action. Yi himself had connections with the Chinese Communist Party, and his company often operated in a way beneficial to Beijing's national interests. Xi Jinping and the CEFC were connected to the Chinese Communist Party. There's no doubt of this. For example, Xi Jinping was reportedly the Deputy Secretary General of the China Association for International Friendly Contact, the CAIFC, which is an arm of the Chinese military, according to a report by the Project 2049 Institute. CEFC also had Chinese military officers affiliated with the company. Former Hunter Biden business partner provided documents that showed CEFC's mission was to expand cooperation in the international energy economy and contribute to the national development, meaning the development of China's global influence. The corporate documents also show that CEFC was dedicating itself, serving China's national energy strategy, developing national strategic reserves for oil, and partnering with centrally administered state-owned enterprises. When Hunter Biden worked with the company in 2017, CEFC is reported to have received funding from China Development Bank, retained a number of former officials from the Chinese state-owned energy companies, and contained layers of Communist Party committees across its subsidiaries, more than at many private Chinese companies. After those investments, Zeman shifted the Czech Republic's policy on a number of contentions, China issues including the suppression of anti-China demonstrators when Xi Jinping visited the country in 2016. Zeman also denied a government medal to a Holocaust survivor because a relative of his met with the Dalai Lama, the Times of Israel reported. CEFC's approached Hunter Biden and his business partners in part for assistance in expanding its global reach with an eye on the U.S. energy market. The younger Biden and his associate also worked to secure investment opportunities for CEFC in the Middle East and in Europe, specifically the countries of Oman and Romania. According to corporate documents and outlined in their 2020 supplemental report on Hunter Biden's business dealings, CEFC and its American partners eyed expansion in countries across the world, such as Oman, Colombia, Luxembourg, and Romania. The document stated that Hunter Biden was key in a relationship setup, messaging the goodwill around the chairman Xi Jinping and the non-conflict status of CEFC entry, a bridge between two great nations, regarding the potential CEFC investment in Oman. Of significance to congressional investigators, Hunter Biden helped CEFC plan for its expansion into the U.S. energy market through a joint venture with him and his partners at the same time that CEFC was set to acquire a $9.1 billion stake in Russia's state-owned energy company, Rosneft. On the same day that the impending Rosneft deal was announced, Hunter Biden and Gangwon Dong, a Chinese national who has reportedly executed transactions for limited liability companies controlled by Xi Jinping, applied to a bank and opened a line of credit under the business name Hudson West III LLC. Hudson West III LLC would be the primary vehicle that Xi Jinping and CEFC would use to transfer funds to the younger Biden. Although the president has repeatedly denied knowledge of his son's businesses, some of the funds would end up in Joe Biden's personal bank account, according to documentary evidence. From 2017 to 2019, Hunter Biden received at least $3.6 million from CEFC, $664,000 from a CEFC-connected entity, and $1 million from a CEFC for the representation of Patrick Ho. The money Hunter Biden received from CEFC sources was outlined in the first son's now-defunct plea deal on his federal gun and tax charges. One of the key episodes that illustrates CEFC's Biden connection involved in planned investment in the Monkey Island natural gas terminal. That's right, the Monkey Island natural gas terminal. In this deal, Hunter Biden and his partners worked to secure CEFC's investments in Monkey Island and would provide CEFC with a jumping-off point for the rest of the Gulf of Mexico. Hunter Biden's Chinese assistant, Japak Bao, explained this in an email to the younger Biden, which was obtained from the abandoned laptop archive. Through you and Uncle Jim's connection, with Monkey Island, Mongolia Project ABC as a starting point, talking point, we can check out all the other interesting Louisiana, Texas, Gulf of Mexico, U.S. projects, Bao told Hunter. You are the best person to help your friend Yi do that, because you know a lot of folks in the area and you have the access to decision makers, helpful local folks with insight about the region, she continued. You can read that entire email, it's available. The fall of Xi Jinping and CEFC. Yi's empire began to collapse in November of 2017 when Xi Jinping Patrick Ho, one of his key deputies, was arrested by federal law enforcement and charged in the United States. In November of 2017, he was arrested in the United States for violating the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act and money laundering laws in a bribery scheme at the United Nations in New York. Ho was convicted in a scheme to pay off African government officials for favorable treatment at CEFC on energy projects in their home countries. Ho operated through a think tank affiliated with CEFC while attempting to secure the benefits for the main company. Hunter was paid $1 million fee to legally represent Ho in his bribery trial and helped to secure legal representation for his Chinese client despite never representing Ho in the trial itself. Ho was convicted, served his 36-month sentence, and was deported to Hong Kong. Shortly after Ho's arrest in the United States, Xi Jinping would disappear in China under mysterious circumstances. He was reportedly under investigation by the Chinese government. His name subsequently appeared in graft trials of senior Chinese Communist Party officials, according to Reuters, indicating that Yi may have been under scrutiny for financial crime or corruption. The Monkey Island deal was never consummated, likely as a result of the collapse of his business entities, and CEFC was taken over by the Shanghai government entity. The funds to Hudson West III dried up after Yi's disappearance, and Hunter Biden's foreign business deals were wound down as his fathers prepared to run for president in 2019. Yi's whereabouts and legal status are still unknown. Reuters and the South China Morning Post reported that CEFC Chairman Xi Jinping had been investigated for suspected economic crimes. Hunter Biden's attorney did not respond to requests for comment. Hunter Biden's payments from and work with CEFC and its enigmatic founder Xi Jinping will likely continue to be at the center of the House Oversight Committee's investigation into President Biden and his family, especially because many of the key details remain unknown. We've revealed how Joe Biden received checks from his family that were funded by the Bidens' influence peddling schemes, with China no less. The House Oversight Committee continues to investigate Joe Biden's involvement in his family's domestic and international business schemes at a rapid pace. We will continue to uncover the facts and provide transparency about the findings of our investigation.